Down rice can cost rice producers thousands of dollars in financial losses. Those losses include reduced rice yields, reduced quality, as well as increased labor and fuel costs. Rice growers also experienced increased wear to equipment used to harvest down rice, and they incur additional costs related to the repair of subsequently damaged equipment. The rice insurance policy covers losses due to reduced yields and quality. Additional harvest costs can be offset by the down rice endorsement for insured rice acreage damaged by wind or rain. The objective of this video is to give loss adjusters the tools they need to assess down rice events, distinguish between standing and down rice harvested with two types of combine headers commonly used in harvesting rice, and finally, to assess the type of stubble left in the field upon completion of the harvest in order to determine the rice acreage that may qualify for a down rice payment. First, how can you identify down rice? Down rice is rice which falls over due to wind or rain such that the rice has been flattened or caused to lean, which requires the rice to be harvested at an approximate plant height of 6 inches or less. For the purposes of this training video, this field of rice has been mechanically rolled down to demonstrate how down rice can be harvested first with a conventional header and then with a stripper header. Former USA Rice Council Chair and Chico County rice grower Joe Menser explains the value of the down rice endorsement.
Well, typically here in the Mid-South, we have a high exposure rate to hurricanes and strong thunderstorms during the harvest season here. And rice is real susceptible to lodging under those conditions, which can really increase the cost of harvest on that crop.
In assessing a down rice situation, the height of the remaining stubble is the single factor used in determining if the down rice caused by winter rain will qualify for a down rice payment for rice harvested with a conventional cutter bar or stripper header. For an insurable down rice event, the down rice will be harvested at an approximate height of 6 inches. So the stubble height could be as low as 3 or 4 inches or in the 6 to 7 inch range. This is the height the adjuster will use to verify that the producer did indeed have downed rice, which qualifies as harvested down rice. Another important fact to remember is that to qualify for a down rice payment, the down rice must actually be harvested. During a typical harvest, a conventional header will likely cut standing rice at a height of about 2 feet or 24 inches from the ground, as shown in this photo of harvested flattened rice in the foreground and harvested standing rice in the background. University of Arkansas rice agronomist Jared Hartke explains.
It looks like our head heights are above 2 feet in about 2 foot range. Is about where he's going to have to, right in here, is about where he's going to have to cut to slightly below 2 feet.
In a comparative example, Hartke distinguishes between the measurements of both standing and leaning rice stubble using the conventional header.
Standing rice cut at a height of about 1.3 feet compared to some leaning rice that he just moved out of, cut at less than a foot in height.
Leaning rice can also be cut at heights greater than a foot depending on how extensively the rice is leaning. In either case, even though such leaning rice is harvested at heights lower than standing rice, it would not qualify for a down rice payment. Based on the stubble height of the rice harvested with a conventional header, it can be determined whether the rice was cut while standing or leaning versus it being down rice based on the measurement of the stubble. Dr. Hartke and Bill Smith with AgriLogic Consulting measured the stubble of the standing rice cut with a conventional header. In rice that is severely leaning, matted or thatched together, but not flattened, a conventional header will likely harvest the rice in the 6 to 7 inch range, meeting the approximate 6 inch criteria for downed rice. Finally, watch closely as the harvesting of down rice, in this case flattened rice, is demonstrated. Again, this rice has been mechanically flattened for the purposes of this demonstration. Upon the first attempt, The rice is too flat to be lifted up from the ground by the conventional header. However, upon the second attempt, where the header cuts the rice against the grain, the rice can be harvested, albeit at a much slower pace. Note the distinct stubble profile of the conventional header. Dr. Hartke explains.
He's not going to do this for the fun of it. He's not going to drop that header down and have to go through like that if he doesn't absolutely have to. It's in that 6-inch range.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some variability, a few outliers there, but that's a 0.5, so that's 6 inches. So
That's only 4 inches.
about below 6 inches is it for absolutely matted rice. But to be honest, that kind of gives you an indication in that 6-inch range.
In this part of the training, we pivot to the harvesting of down rice with a stripper header. First, we begin in standing rice, or rice under normal harvestable conditions. Dr. Hartke first takes a measurement of the standing rice. During this demonstration, note the height of the stripper header as it moves through the field. Additionally, observe the height of the rice stalks once the standing rice has been harvested. From a different angle, you can see the height of the header as well as the standing plants once the harvest is complete. As observed in this photo, rice in the foreground and background was standing rice, while the rice in the middle of the photo was down rice, all of which was harvested by a stripper header. Next, in this leaning rice example, Dr. Hartke and Bill Smith with AgriLogic Consulting measure the extent of the lean from the ground. Here, 2 measurements were taken. Measuring at 18 inches, a second measurement of the lodged rice measured at 14 inches. With those measurements in mind, note the height of the stripper header as it pulls rice from these matted and lodged rice plants. Also note the position of the lodged rice plants as the header completes a pass over the affected area. Contrast the position of the rice stalks with the stripper header as it relates to the stubble of a harvest using a conventional header. It is clear from this example that the harvest height for both the stripper head and a conventional head would exceed the approximate 6-inch down rice qualifier and thus would not qualify as harvested down rice, and no down rice payment will be made for similar acreage. Finally, in this down rice example, Dr. Hartke measures the level at which the down rice was harvested. While the stripper header does not normally cut the rice stalks, it is still possible to determine rice that has been flattened and would qualify as down rice as shown in this video and these still pictures. Notice the damage to the stalk of the down rice caused by the stripper header.
We're at about a 6-inch height, 4 to 6 inches.
Here, please note the apparent speed of the stripper header as it proceeds over the affected area. Also note the rice stalks as the header moves over the flattened area. From another angle, you can see how the stripper header moves over the flattened rice. Upon a closer view, note the position of the rice stalks. Finally, here's a list of things to remember about down rice insurance coverage. Harvested down rice is down rice including immediately adjacent areas of standing rice that is harvested at an approximate plant height of 6 inches or less. This may include all acreage in the field or any part of the field. Down rice must be harvested to qualify for payment. The down rice deductible is initially equal to 10% of the insured acreage in the unit. The down rice deductible disappears at 50% crop damage. The down rice endorsement operates on a basic or optional unit basis in accordance with the policy provisions, while enterprise or whole farm units are not applicable. The underlying policy may have an enterprise unit structure, but the down rice endorsement would operate on a basic or optional unit basis. For purposes of this endorsement, the share is always 100%. For example, the tenant would be eligible for the coverage while the landlord would not. Preliminary inspections are conducted for damaged acreage that is inconsistent with the area, a unit with more than 50% damage, spot checks, or unusual cases. For example, rice that will be harvested with a stripper header. The primary purpose of the preliminary inspection is to verify damage only. Downed rice payments are made only under the following conditions. The downed rice must be harvested, the notice and consent requirements must be met, and the deductible requirement must be exceeded, 10% of acreage disappearing at 50%. Growers are not eligible for payment under the following conditions. The downed rice acreage is put to another use, the downed rice is destroyed, or the downed rice is not harvested. Downed rice payments will be denied for the following reasons. The grower failed to give notice, timely and acceptable, downed rice is harvested without consent, or the grower destroys the stubble without consent, which includes flooding for a ratoon crop. Harvested downed rice can be determined in two ways. See the downed rice LASH. When an entire field or parts of a field are harvested as downed rice, used determined acres. When random areas of downed rice are harvested within a field, acres may be estimated. For catastrophic, widespread downed rice events, there is a simplified loss process available, and authorization by RMA is required.
A downed rice demonstration is very helpful from an adjustment standpoint in having people understand what the actual end result differences are based on cutter bar height or the height that a stripper header is run, to see what's left after the fact, which is what the adjustments are based on. These types of demonstrations give us an opportunity to compare side by side what those end results are in standing rice, leaning or thatched rice, and fully downed rice.
In conclusion, keep in mind the following when assessing a downed rice event. Notice of damage is required. Conduct preliminary inspections. Consent to harvest the downed rice and destroy the stubble are required. Notice of harvest by the insured facilitates timely claim settlement. Obtain photographic documentation, both preliminary and post-harvest, for claims audit purposes, and payment will only be made on harvested downed rice.